Good morning, friends. We are here today to hear the story of the sun egg, written by Elsa Beskow. The sun egg. There was once a small elf who lived in a hollow tree in the woods. She loved dancing. In the spring, she danced a welcome back sun dance, and in the autumn, a swirling yellow leaves dance, and in the winter, a falling snow dance. She would dance until she was so tired that she would crawl into her tree and fall fast asleep. In the summer, there was so much happening and so many interesting, funny things to watch that she didn't have so much time for dancing. All the birds in the wood were her friends, and she saw an egg that had fallen out of its nest, lying on the moss. She would carry it up to the mother bird as quickly as she could. The birds were all very fond of her, and they sang her the most beautiful songs whenever she was near. One day, when she was exploring in the wood, she saw something round, large, and yellow lying on the ground. What a big egg, she thought. Where has it come from, I wonder? She looked up and she saw a bright hole in the clouds overhead. I know, she said. The sun has dropped an egg, and she can't seem to see it because the clouds are in the way. And she ran off straight away to tell her friend Larch all about it. Now, Larch was lying on a branch. He was always playing tricks on people, and when he saw her, he threw down a fir cone, and it tripped her up. Oh, you are not nice, said the elf crossly, picking herself up. I'll tell Crooked Root if you do that again. Crooked Root was the old gnome in charge of the woods, and he was the only person Larch was afraid of. Tell, called Larch. Well, maybe I won't then, said the elf, but I shall tell shall tell you my secret. So there, she ran off. Larch jumped down from his tree and ran after her. He picked up a grass straw and a pointed stick to give her a drink of fresh birch sap because he wanted to make it up to her, although really he wasn't supposed to tap the birch trees. Crooked Root had forbidden that. The elf went straight to Happy Frog, who lived by the lake. Happy Frog laughed at everything. She had a little restaurant, which was also called the Happy Frog. When the elf came running up, a snail and a lizard were having lunch, and Happy Frog's friend, Anxious Frog, was waiting to be served. What would you like? Oh, fresh bleak roe and chopped pondweed? asked Happy Frog. Or would you rather have some plantain seed? Oh, no, thank you. I couldn't eat a thing. I have already had a whole wood sorrel leaf this morning, said the elf. But I do have some very important news. the sun has laid an egg, and it has fallen into our wood. Come and look." Happy Frog thought this was so funny that she collapsed into giggles and almost choked. Frog had to slap her on the back. The Happy Frog. Notice, guests are forbidden to eat each other at Frog's restaurant. The little elf ran ahead to show the way, and the others followed. Lurch had come running up with a friend, the squirrel. They were all very surprised and not a little puzzled when they saw the elf's egg. "Just think," said the elf, "if it hatches out soon, we'll have our own sun shining here in the woods." "Oh, I certainly hope not," said the owl, peering down from the tree. "I would have to move. To-wit, to-hoo." "It'll be very hot in the middle," said Larch. "The sun has a fire inside of it, you know." Just then, old Crooked Root came hobbling up. What's going on here?" "It's a sun egg," said Larch. "To-wit, to-woo." "The woods will go up in flames soon," said the owl. "We must stop that right away," said the Crooked Root. There must be Crooked Root. "The best thing that would be if it," said Happy Frog. She meant to say that they ought to hatch it out in the stream. But when she thought how funny it would look hissing under the water, she couldn't stop laughing. "Nothing to laugh at," said Crooked Root crossly. "Everyone, lend a hand. We will roll the egg down to the water." The shell isn't very warm," said the lizard, sniffing it gingerly. "Hooray!" shouted Larch. "It isn't a sun egg. It's a football." And he gave it a kick. "Oh, don't kick my sun egg. You will hurt the sun chick," said the elf. But Crooked Root had already seized Larch by the ear. "You touch that sun egg again, and you'll get what's coming." Oh, suddenly Squirrel bit off a piece of the shell and scurried up the tree. "Ugh," he said, "it tastes horrible." "Oh, do be careful with my sun egg," cried the elf. And he came flying up to see what was the matter. "Listen," said the birdie. "It isn't a sun egg. It's a kind of sun fruit that is called an orange. You see hundreds of them, so I hear, in the sunny countries where some of us fly during the winter time. There are as many of them as cones on a fir tree, and they have a lovely yellow juice inside of them." "Juice, did you say?" cried Larch. And he darted behind the yellow ball. He made a hole in the skin with the sharp pointed stick, but in his straw he sucked it out. "Oh, oh, 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 it is so good," he said, and he licked his lips. "I've never tasted something so delicious." "What have you done?" shouted Crooked Root angrily. Larch quickly passed his straw to the old gnome so that he could have a taste too. And then they got their straws for each other, and soon they were all standing around the great ball, sucking and saying, "Oh, how lovely." Happy Frog had less than anyone else because Larch tickled her ribs and the juice went down the wrong way. But when she had finished joking, she said, "Listen, Elf, you can eat free for a whole year if you'll let me have this juice barrel for my restaurant." At that moment, a huge black crow came flying past, flapping his wings and cawing loudly. Everyone was scared. Suddenly, he swooped down and snatched the orange in his claw and flew off with it to his nest. The baby crows opened up their beaks wide, but the crow was too greedy to let them have any. He just swallowed the orange whole, but it got stuck in his throat and almost choked him. Afterwards, his neck was so sore that it had to be bandaged all summer, and he couldn't caw again, which rather served him right, that greedy old crow. The little elf burst into tears when she saw the crow disappearing with her orange. "Oh, don't cry, little elf," the missel thrush said. "If you like, you can come with me this autumn to the sunny southern country, where the ripe yellow oranges hang on trees. You are so light, you could easily ride on my back." When she heard this, the elf's face lit up and she danced through the woods singing, I'm going to the land of the sun. I'm going to the land of the sun." When the autumn came, the elf did go to the south with the missel thrush. She ran about happily in the sunshine, and soon she was nearly as good friends with the butterflies there as she was with the ones in her own wood. Whenever she was hungry, she stuck a straw into a big orange and took a drink of fresh juice. But the lemons were much too sour. She never drank from them. So if one day you find an orange that is a bit dry, don't get too cross. Perhaps the elf has been drinking from it, and I'm sure that you wouldn't mind if she had a sip or two of your juice. Although the elf loved the warm southern country, she would say to the sun nearly every day, "Sun, please hurry up and shine on the woods at home so that spring will be there again soon." Because when spring came, she was going back home with the missel thrush. She had promised to return because the wood anemones would not come out unless she was there to dance her welcome back dance. Crooked Root and the larch were longing to see her. Again and again they went to see if the missel thrush had returned, and Crooked Root would say, "Don't be silly. Of course the missel thrush won't come back in the middle of winter." But even when the snow was on the ground, he would look too all the same. When at last the elf did come home, everyone was so pleased that they ran around her, laughing and turning somersaults. But the whole story really began a long time before, when a small boy called Danny went looking for wild strawberries in the wood, and he dropped an orange out of his picnic box. Oh my. Stars, moon, sun. Now this tale is all Thank you for coming.